Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the book review. I'll be reviewing A Man Without a Country by Kurt Vonnegut. So, hopefully, if you're coming to this video and you see it, that you have some prior knowledge of some Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut is he's dark, he's funny. He can mix those two very well. His thoughts and the way he portrays them in his stories are very penetrating. They're very moving. They're very introspective, and I think that just kind of shows you what kind of person he is. And I say all these things because this book is a memoir. He wrote it at the end of his life. I think he was like 85. I don't know when his birthday was, but so this book was written in 2005. So if I were to try and wrap your head around it's a memoir, but if I would try to wrap your head around what kind of atmosphere it was that kind of helped produce this book, 2005, that was definitely, the Iraq War and Afghanistan War and Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney, and you get kind of like a backlash response, and it's not necessarily. I mean, some of those people are brought up, and some of those events are brought up specifically in the book, but it's not about politics or geopolitics. It's just kind of like he's a humanist, and so he sees some of these things and can understand their existence, but that still means that we're all fucked. Not that there aren't good things, because that's what a humanist. That's what you get a lot from his writings. Is you get the good and you get the bad, and just how bad and just how good we can be surprised. There'll be no end of surprises on that end. But so you get kind of a response to that era. I recall being around that time and the thoughts and feelings I had. It kind of was interesting to read it before the elections recently. How kind of a different sensation I had about our current trajectory as a country. Not that I deviated from my cynicism. I just that things didn't seem as perilous as they did before. But then again, now. It's kind of like this book fits particularly well. So this book talks about his early childhood, how he developed his humor. It talks about stories, how they evolve, how not just his stories. He kind of like humorously sets up different plot designs, and there's some really great illustrations in the book. That it looks pretty much he did them, just all hand-drawn stuff, funny stuff. There's quotes that are inserted in here that are from different parts of his career. All of them are pretty great. You get more of his, again, humanism is just kind of reflected here, but it seems like he feels very like things are very dire in the world. He talks about how the earth is ridding itself of humans, and because we're just messing stuff up, and there aren't very many optimistic future potentials laid out in this book, or rather portrayed in any sense. But it's still a fun read. It's not, all of his books generally point out the things that people don't want to know about themselves sometimes, or point out things that they don't really want to agree that humans can do, because different world point of views. But I like how he portrays things, because it's more about it seems like there lacks a bias. Because he will he will state that the humans are fascinating animals, and there's really no argument against that, but they're fascinating for a lot of different ways, and just that's what I love about reading Kurt Vonnegut. It's a really nice memoir. It's short. It's got just, a Kurt Vonnegut fan will be glad that this is in addition to the collection of Kurt Vonnegut, because it's kind of like a nice little like a nice little cherry on top for such a great artist or writer, creator of sorts. It's a nice addition to his collection. And I want to not necessarily end this review with a quote, but there's a quote that I quite like. I think it sums up a lot of Kurt Vonnegut's feelings about what it takes to sometimes have a smile on your face when it just doesn't feel right. And it's not like a happy thing either. I think I quoted this on Facebook, and I think I got a lot of likes that were like, "Oh, isn't that like hopeful?" But that's not what I was going for. And but here's the quote: "I wanted all the things to seem to make some sense, so we could all be happy, yes, instead of tense. And I made up lies so they all fit nice, and I made this sad world a paradise." And I think that goes to show that we can kind of justify really terrible things because we can make it fit in our own delusional perception of the world. But it's almost kind of necessary to live a life with some silver lining, with some, wow, that sounds so depressing. But it's just kind of like the big picture is pretty terrifying to stare at. So maybe we stare at specific things, or we live in a fantasy land that has a nice big picture. It's a choice we have. It's the brain power we have. So that is that kind of sums up a little bit of this book, A Man Without a Country. It's not as political as it sounds. I mean, there's obviously some stuff in there. And the next book I finished and read was really fantastic cover art. It's Rant by Chuck Palahniuk. Palahniuk. Don't know how to say that last name. But so you might know this author from the book Fight Club and the movie Fight Club. This book, after you finish it, you're like, oh yeah, I never read any other Chuck Palahniuk book, but if the movie Fight Club is anything like the book, I can understand what they were trying to go for in Fight Club, even though I didn't read the book, because of the style of, possible style of his writing. Well, and I'll get more into that in that book review. And my cat right here just joined me. Yep. But there he is. He is just perfectly happy here. So, I'll say goodbye, and I will see you guys in the next book review.